Hello, it's Mr. Cho. So yeah, I'm in reservist now, probably climbing some hill. But you guys are enjoying the aircon room, and let's go through the corrections for your TYS. Okay, so please take out your TYS and turn to topic 5, nutrition and plants. Okay, and I'm just gonna skim through all the MCQs real quick, and then we'll get to the open-ended questions. Alright, let's start. Okay, so question 1. What is the role of structure Q? Now, as you can see, structure Q is pointing at the, what do you think? That's right, the xylem. Okay, so let's just label this down, the xylem. So do recall that if you see this network of veins, right, the upper half will be the xylem, and then that lower half is the phloem. Okay, how you tell is that the larger spaces, the larger openings, tend to be the xylem, and the smaller opening tend to be the phloem. Okay, so what's the role? It will be just transport, right? Transport of water and mineral salts. Let's write it here. Liter. Okay. A light was placed next to a plant, and the light was moved further away from the plant, and the rate of photosynthesis measured. Which graph shows the changes in the rate of photosynthesis? Okay, so what we should see is that when the distance, right, increases, the distance of light from the plant increases, then the rate of photosynthesis will start to drop. Right, makes sense, right? Because if it's near, then the rate of photosynthesis is high, and if it's far away, then the rate of photosynthesis is lesser. The answer is A. Okay, question 3. Question 3 says, the diagram shows 4 test tubes that are set up to investigate photosynthesis and respiration. Each test tube is filled with red hydrogen carbonate indicator solution and contains a piece of pond reed. Hydrogen carbonate indicator changes from red to purple in very low carbon dioxide concentrations, and from red to yellow in high carbon dioxide concentrations. In which tube will the indicator turn purple first? Okay, keyword first also. Okay, so purple means what? Purple means very low carbon dioxide concentration. Okay, so that means that there's less carbon dioxide than normal. Okay, so if we have tube A, this is kept at 25 degrees Celsius, right? There's light, it's not covered by anything. Okay, so now it's a good temperature for photosynthesis to occur. So this is likely to be photosynthesizing, right? For B, okay, so when there's photosynthesis, of course, at A, when there's photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide, right, will be CO2 used up. And when the CO2 is used up, right, it becomes low concentration. So therefore, I'm thinking the answer is A, right? But let's just double check. Okay, so B, it cannot have photosynthesis. And do recall that there's a baseline level of respiration. So even when the plant is not photosynthesizing, it will still respire, and respire produces carbon dioxide. Okay, so actually in B, quite likely you'll see the indicator starts to turn yellow, right? Indicating that actually the carbon dioxide is starting to increase. Okay, now we see for C, it's a bit too cold, right? So it's not good temperature, too cold. So it will photosynthesize, right? But slowly, okay, not as fast as A. And then D also same thing lah. It's too cold plus it is covered up. So that's it, turn yellow also. Okay. Do jot down these little notes here and there. Okay, so of course answer will be A. Question 4. A student set up an experiment to investigate the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis in pond reed. Okay, so we study this. Lamp, meter ruler, and the student measured the volume of gas produced by the pond reed at 5 different distances from the land. Which graph would you expect the student to draw from the result? So it's kind of similar to the one that we just did earlier, right? The nearer it is, right? The nearer it is, the more gas is being produced, right? In this case, the gas being oxygen gas. Okay, so it's near, more photosynthesis, more oxygen gas produced. And it's further, less oxygen gas produced, because less photosynthesis. What am I talking about? Okay. Question 5. Which set of conditions will produce the highest rate of photosynthesis in plants? Okay, so for most plants, the optimum temperature is about 30 to 40 degrees. So of course, if the light intensity is high and the temperature is high, then photosynthesis will be at a high rate. So answer is A. B is not possible because at 90 degrees, the enzymes in the leaf would denature. Question 6. The photomicrograph shows a transverse section of a leaf. Where does carbon dioxide enter the leaf? Okay, so you just imagine this as the pictures that you've seen in your textbook, right? This is the upper epidermis at A, right? B will be your what? Okay, let's label upper epidermis. Then B will be your xylem or phloem. Okay, it will be your xylem. It's because it's the upper area. And C is our air spaces, okay, which is within the spongy mesophyll cells. And of course, D is the stoma, right, singular, which is found between the two gut cells. Okay, so answer is D. Okay, question 7. The apparatus shown below is used to investigate the rate of photosynthesis at different temperatures. Let's look at it for a bit. You can see the bubbles coming out. There's light. There's a thermometer. Good. The graph shows the number of bubbles counted per minute plotted against temperature. Okay. So, in which temperature range does the rate of photosynthesis increase the most? Okay, so that means they're asking you to look at how much did it increase. Okay, so you got to find out the kind of like the sharpest peak. Okay, so if we see from 10 to 20, right, it is 12. Okay, 12, and then over here this is 22. Okay, that means that it increased by 10. And from 20 to 30, okay, this is 64, I think. So 84, so that's an increase of 40. Okay, so what we can conclude is that the range of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius is the range where the rate of photosynthesis increased the most. B. Like, honestly, it's quite obvious. You don't even have to do the math. You can just estimate. Okay, question 8. Diagram shows a plant cell. What's happening at structure X? Right, what energy conversion is happening at structure X? So these are our chloroplasts, and then our chloroplast is trapping light energy to become chemical energy. Okay, so answer is D. Right, it traps the light energy from the sun and converts it into glucose, which is chemical. Okay, question 9. Okay, upper epidermis, right, xylem, phloem, lower epidermis, spongy mesophyll cells. Okay, so that's it. Which numbered structures have the functions below? Photosynthesis. Okay, which one has photosynthesis? 1, right, has photosynthesis. 2 doesn't have, 3 doesn't have, 5 has photosynthesis. Right, so that's fine. 1 and 5, this should be correct, but let's just double check. Transport. Okay, so this is transport, yes, transport water and mineral salt. Of course, this phloem transports food. Okay, transport food. And so, yep, that further confirms it that this is correct. Okay, so answer is B. Question 10. 4 tubes with hydrogen carbonate. It sounds familiar. Hydrogen carbonate indicator solution stays red if there's no change in carbon dioxide concentration. Indicator goes yellow if the carbon dioxide concentration increases, and purple if the carbon dioxide concentration decreases. The hydrogen carbonate indicator solution in each tube is red at the start. Okay, so it is neutral. And then the 4 tubes are placed in bright sunlight. After 10 minutes, the indicator turns purple. Which tube is this? Okay, so what is purple? Purple means carbon dioxide concentration decrease. So here is a bit interesting because they put snail. Okay, so since snails are living things, they will respire. Snails respire, and when there's respiration, they increase the carbon dioxide concentration. Okay, because they're like breathing out carbon dioxide. Okay, so the one that will turn purple will be the one that is only with a plant and no other weird foil that's covering it. Okay, so because in this case, it can photosynthesize, and it will remove the carbon, it will use the carbon dioxide to for their photosynthesis. So B. Question 11. Which graph shows the effect of temperature on the rate of oxygen released by aquatic plant when placed in strong light? Okay, so rate of oxygen is kind of almost the same as saying rate of photosynthesis, right? Because it's just another way of calculating it. So we see that we should see a graph looks very similar to our enzyme graph. Remember, we were talking about heat, and so C is the answer. There's an optimum temperature for the photosynthetic enzymes, right? Will be scope, and of course, when it goes above optimum temperature, it starts to denature until there's no more photosynthesis. Okay, here's the fun part. Some plants carry out photosynthesis. State 3 things that a plant needs from the environment. Okay, we need water, light energy. Okay, and do note it says environment, so you should not write chloroplast or chlorophyll, because that is not an environment, that is in the plant itself. Okay, so light energy, carbon dioxide, please spell it out, don't write CO2. And okay, this one will be contentious lah. Okay, and suitable temperature. Okay, but I'll prefer, I think you'll write the first 3 and should be safe. Okay, describe 2 ways in which a dicotyledonous leaf is adapted for photosynthesis. Okay, so we can talk about the lamina. Lamina is has a large surface area to absorb more sunlight. Okay, lamina. Okay, this is still the same point. Still the first way. Yeah, it's thin, very thin, allow for quick diffusion of gases. Okay, let's also talk about the petiole. There's quite a lot honestly. There's like, I don't know, 6, 7 ways that is adapted. Okay, so just choose a few. Okay, so you can say petiole positions the leaves to maximize sunlight absorption. Okay, so just choose, mix and match any of them. Okay, question 2. A student investigates the effect of carbon dioxide concentration and light density on the rate of photosynthesis in an aquatic plant. Her results are shown in the figure. Okay, so how the student measured the rate of photosynthesis of this aquatic plant. Okay, so what she did, likely, she measured the produced over a period of time. It's because oxygen levels are directly proportional to rate photosynthesis. Okay, so the most obvious way is to measure the oxygen bubbles. Okay, because and that's the easiest way. Count bubbles. It's even easier than counting the volume. It's not, I mean, nobody actually counts the actual like rate of photosynthesis like chemically, okay, because there is like too much chemistry to do. Okay, describe what the figure shows about the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so it's quite a simple question. When light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis increases. Okay, so just very easy standard statement. Everybody should know this. Okay, what is the effect of increasing carbon dioxide concentration at point A in the figure? Okay, so if you increase carbon dioxide concentration at point A, the rate of photosynthesis still increases. Then what happens at point B? At point B, even if you increase the amount of carbon dioxide concentration at point B, sorry, the rate of photosynthesis remains constant. Okay, let's explain why. Okay, so you can make reference at this Ci. Okay, at point A, carbon dioxide is still a limiting factor. So having more carbon dioxide increase. Okay, then at point B, carbon dioxide is no longer a limiting factor. Okay, so at point B, carbon dioxide is no longer a limiting factor. Likely it will be the other two, which is temperature and the amount of light. Okay, so we only can use temperature because the graph has already used up carbon dioxide and light intensity. Okay, so we only are left with temperature. Okay, so here, student, so these questions I mark vomit blood. Don't even know that there's a sun in the sky. Okay, the figure shows the rate of use of carbon dioxide and the rate of production of carbon dioxide by a plant during 24 hours. Okay, so it's just a typical day, right, on Earth, right, not in outer space. And so rate of use of, okay, we'll come back to this, right? Let's just write the simple stuff first. Okay, photosynthesis, I got carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of light energy and chlorophyll. Okay, I'm writing it this way because I can't type it that way. Right, equals to I got no more space. Okay, let's write here. Okay, glucose and oxygen. Okay, very ugly. Okay, we have not learned respiration yet. Okay, so if you went to Google and you got the answer, that's fine. Okay, but a lot of you missed out a key important thing over here. Okay, so respiration is glucose, right, being broken down into water plus carbon dioxide plus large amount of energy. Okay, so that's what I mean by respiration. Right, respiration is when our body cells or any living cells, they use glucose, they kind of like tear it apart, and when it's torn apart, it is converted into carbon dioxide, water. But what is actually useful is that large amount of energy that is released when the glucose is broken. Okay, so these are the kind of questions that often confuse people, this question B, because you actually have to use a little bit of like real life, logic kind of here. Okay, so the rate of use of carbon dioxide for photosynthesis varies during the day, but the rate of production of carbon dioxide by respiration remains constant. Suggest why. Okay, so as photosynthesis is light dependent, Okay, when the sun rises, photosynthesis up to the maximum at noon. When the sun sets, photosynthesis reduces. Okay, so respiration happening Okay, so respiration is happening constantly, right, regardless of the time. Therefore, it will be constant. Okay, so I mean, this is like, it's just logic lah. Okay. Okay, question C. In the figure, X represents the total amount of carbon dioxide used for photosynthesis, and Y represents the total amount of carbon dioxide produced by respiration. The plant uses more carbon dioxide for photosynthesis than it produces during respiration. Suggest why a healthy plant carries out more photosynthesis than respiration on a sunny day. Okay, so on a sunny day, healthy plants can absorb sunlight to make glucose. So I would say this question is a little bit strange, to be honest. Right? When I see this kind of question, I'll be like, what is Cambridge thinking? Make such weird questions. Or rather, the phrasing of the question is a bit weird. Okay, so how I would answer is that I'll just kind of reply the answer, a bit like English essay, right? Right, on a sunny day, healthy plants can absorb sunlight to make glucose. You can use the glucose for various functions, right, like storage or growth, or any other thing, like make more cellulose, make more starch, that kind of stuff. Okay, but respiration is constant and is not affected by sunlight. Okay, how does the plant obtain the additional carbon dioxide it needs? Okay, so this is called through gas exchange. Stomata. Okay, so we have learned that the stomata is where the carbon dioxide will enter and where the oxygen will leave. So this is known as gas exchange. We are exchanging carbon dioxide from outside atmosphere with the oxygen that was already in the leaf, so they are exchanging places. The phrasing is a bit weird though, right? How does, like, how, the word how makes it kind of weird. Okay, but actually it's just a stomata lah. Okay. I would like you to try the free response questions, but okay, I will just read through you and give you a few hints. The figure shows how the rate of photosynthesis and the rate of respiration in a plant change over a 24-hour period. Okay, so it's almost like what we just did. Describe and explain the changes in the rate of photosynthesis and respiration as shown in the figure. Include a description and explanation about what is happening at you. Okay, so to sum it up, right, let's talk about rate of respiration. Okay, so the rate of respiration is increasing slightly, right, throughout the day, okay, until it hits about 12 noon, then it starts to decrease again. Okay, so why is it increasing this time instead of like constant, as what we saw in the previous graph? Okay, most likely that the graph is trying to represent that the plant is a bit more active during the day. Okay, so when the plant is more active, right, the leaves are like in full bloom. I'm sorry, not leaves, the flowers are in full bloom and whatever. Okay, so there's more activity happening during the day. Okay, so that's why the rate of respiration is higher. Okay, then why is the rate of photosynthesis only starting at 6 a.m.? That's because that's when the sun rises, right? Okay, so roughly around then. The sun rises, and then the rate of photosynthesis goes up all the way until about noon, where the sun is at its peak, right? Its brightest light intensity is brightest in noon. And so the sun it reaches maximum rate of photosynthesis, and as the sun sets in the evening, about maybe 6, I don't know what country is this, but never mind. In some countries the sun sets at 6 and rises at 6. Okay, and then yeah, of course the light intensity decreases as the sun drops. Okay, so what's happening at U is the point where the rate of photosynthesis is equal to the rate of respiration. That's basically U. Okay, so explanation why is it happening at U is because what are they even asking for? I doesn't matter. Just write that U is the point at which the rate of respiration is equal to the rate of photosynthesis. If you want to write why is it equal? Oh, weird question. It's equal because they are intersecting. Yes, I think that's what they want. It's because the lines are intersecting. Okay. Alright. Let's talk about B. Describe how the effect of temperature of photosynthesis can be investigated. Okay, so basically you need to write that whole practical, right, of the temperature, the effect of temperature on a leaf. Okay, so you remember all the videos that I've shown you. You can put like a leaf, right, aquatic plant, into a beaker of water. Yeah, you set like 5 different temperatures, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 degrees Celsius, and then you measure the amount of oxygen bubbles being produced. Okay, so that's quite a simple way. Yeah, and state how the rate of reaction can be calculated is by relating, right, the directly proportional number of oxygen bubbles is directly proportional to the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, let's move on. Question 2. Also try this. It's kind of a repeated question, but the question changed a little bit. Okay, so the graph is the same, but the question changed. Okay, compare the way that the rate of these two reactions change during this period. Describe and explain the changes that take place. Okay, so this one is quite standard. Just explain why is it that the photosynthesis is increasing when the sun rises and when the sun decreases when the sun sets. Then why is it the rate of respiration increases a little bit? It's because the plant is a little bit more active during the day and is less active in the evening and night. Okay, and then this question, photosynthesis produces glucose and respiration uses glucose. Using information from the figure, compare production and use of glucose in the plant. Describe how the use of glucose produced by the photosynthesis changes during this 24-hour period. Okay, so what we can say is that, okay, in general what we could say is that glucose that was produced by photosynthesis is used up by respiration between 0 to 24 hours. Okay, but there is an increase in the amount of glucose being used in the afternoon as the plant is more active and there are more chemical processes happening in the plant cells. Okay, so but when it says use information, right, you got to quote some data. That means that you got to say what is this number. Okay, so at noon what is the arbitrary rate in arbitrary units. Okay, you can, the word arbitrary is means doesn't matter. Okay, so you just need to write the reaction rate is this amount, X amount. Okay, and you go and, of course, you go and see for yourself what the amount is lah. Okay, then you can say the reaction rate at 24 hours is what amount. Okay, so just give a few of this information from the figure, and then you should be good. And yep, that's it. Okay, all the best. Please finish all your corrections, finish section 3 response questions, right, this last section, and then you should be able to submit all of this by the end of the lesson. Okay, all the best, and see you when I see you. Bye.